Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast.
Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, to another Monday night discussion of the NBA playoffs here. We got quite a lineup, of course, to go over. A lot's happened over the weekend and a lot more to come. But there's a lot of debates going on, exactly what's going on with some of these teams. So, introduction here. My name's Tanner. I'm brought with JG here. We are both with the Sports Buffoons here, so thank you for watching. I realized we're not on Facebook. There is a issue going on with that. Apparently, we violated some terms of service, so I'll keep checking that out, and we'll see what we can do to get back on. But besides the case, you still catch us on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And we're always, I think a couple days later, you'll find us on Rumble as well. So, interesting situation. JG, what's going on for the day?
Not much, man. Just had a great weekend down there in Tulsa. Made a lot of money at the casino. I placed an order for my red Chiefs Louis Vuitton sunglasses, so I can't wait to get those and get it popping, man. Get ready for the upcoming Chiefs season. It's been a great weekend.
Well, those arrived just in time for training camp?
They should arrive just in a couple of weeks, but we'll have to see.
Oh, there we go. That'll be perfect. Those looks really nice too. So I'm excited to see that on. Well, JG, let's get into it here. We had a couple of game sevens over the weekend as we were driving back from Tulsa. We'll start with the first one here. The Boston Celtics took it over the Milwaukee Bucks. The defending champs go down despite, what Giannis and his efforts. That guy put in every heart and soul he had into it. So, what are your thoughts? What you take away from that series here as the defending champs go down?
Big surprise for me. As you guys know, I had the Bucks winning this series all along, and I thought that I was so much smarter than the other two buffoons when the Bucks were up 3-2, and then they ended up shitting the bed. So I don't look so smart now, but I guess these other two buffoons over here knew it was coming. Biggest surprise for me from the game itself was the guy that exploded for 27 points, Grant Williams. And honestly, nobody can see anything like that coming. If anybody told you that they saw that coming, they were lying. But Grant Williams, 7 of 18 from three-point land, 27 points. But the story for me here was defense. And Jason Tatum had 23. Jaylen Brown only had 19. But these guys really locked up on defense. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, he didn't really have that great of a night. I know he had basically a triple-double. He went 25, 20, and 9. But he was only 1 of 4 from 3. Only 10 of 26 from the field. So not very efficient for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Drew Holiday really didn't do shit. I mean, you heard us talk about it. If that guy doesn't show up, I mean, he basically has to show up every game. If you don't have Chris Middleton, which, I thought not having Chris Middleton, that would be a problem going forward, but it ended up biting them in the ass a little bit sooner than I thought. I thought they were good enough to get through the Celtics, but, let's give the Celtics some credit. I mean, they're an elite defensive team, and they showed up to play. And I think as far as the Bucks are concerned, they were playing very well for a while there without Middleton. But at some point, you need that closer. You need the guy that's going to give the ball. I mean, even though Giannis is the best player on the team, Middleton's always the guy that gets the ball at money time. And they did very well without him until that game 7. I think, the rest of that roster, I mean, those guys just kind of ran out of steam. You can only do it for so long without a guy like Middleton, who's an all-star. And so I think that's basically what happened here. I mean, give the Celtics credit, but part of that was just the Bucks sort of running out of steam and Grant Williams coming out of nowhere and exploding.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of look at it too, it's really hard in today's game to lose when you are when your team shoots 4 for, what is that, 33 from 3-point. Drew Holiday, 0 for 6. Wesley Matthews, 0 for 3. Grayson Allen, 0 for 4. The only guy who really showed up for it was Bobby Portis coming off the bench for 2 for 3 from 3-point. So it's hard to do that. It's hard to win today's game when you can't shoot the 3 ball. And I think that's what killed him. That's what they're really missing here on Chris Middleton being out as well.
Yeah, and it's also tough to go on the road in a game 7. I remember just over the weekend, Tanner, when we were in Tulsa, we did a show, and I said that, the road team in the series was 4-2, and so I thought that would give the Bucks a chance. But I was listening to a little bit of Pat Beverly. He was kind of all over the news today as far as his thoughts about CP3. But I was just listening to him talk, and he gave me some really good insight from a player's perspective on the fact that, I always thought that there was 2 different levels. You got the regular season and postseason. But Pat Beverly says it's basically you got the preseason, then the regular season. And then when you go into that first round of the playoffs, it's kind of like, okay, the stakes are higher. The teams are playing a lot harder, playing better defense. Refs aren't calling as many ticky-tack fouls. But Pat Beverly says that when you get to a game 7, the pressure goes up even more. And so I think that's kind of what happened to the Bucks as well. I mean, yeah, they played well on the road, but when you're in a game 7, going on the road is a lot different ball game. And so, props to the Celtics for sure.
And hey, so before we move on here to the next series there, but so the Bucks, you kind of talked about this last week with Nick on the show about the Bucks. They were trying to be strategic on their seeding and essentially didn't go for that 2 seed that they could have because they sat out. Do you think this was one of the things that hurt the Bucks now, not having that home 7 game?
No, I don't think it really mattered. I think if they would have somehow got home court, people think, well, that's 1 extra home game, but that can change the whole complexion of a series. So just because you get 1 extra home game, well, that's not going to bring Chris Middleton back from injury. That's not going to really do anything. So I think, although the series could have developed differently, I still think that the Celtics came out ahead because of not having Chris Middleton. Now, certainly it helps having a game 7 on your home court, but I attribute it more so to the Middleton injury than I do, a 2 seed versus a 3 seed, because when you get this deep into the playoffs, the best team's going to win. So home court, I don't really think it really would have helped the Bucks in this instance because they needed their guy. They needed their go-to guy, their closer, and Chris Middleton for sure.
All right, cool. So let's move on to the next series here. Dallas Mavericks defeat the Phoenix Suns. This was the team I told you guys to be careful about right when the series started. I predicted them to win. I really thought Phoenix was going to pull this out because it's been kind of those weird series for them, and they just sat down and did not do anything. Luka Doncic had the game you almost consider almost his life because he went after everybody. It didn't matter if it was a big guy, Ayton, Bridges, Paul, Booker. It didn't matter. That guy went after them, and he just completely dominated them. I don't even know. This is not a new player, but he's kind of shown his case. And maybe Nick was right last week. Maybe we are going to see an MVP case here in the next 2 years for him. So, that was a hell of a performance, and he brought his team up with Brunson and Dinwiddie also performing really well. So, this wasn't kind of a blowout game from the beginning in a way, but not the blowout you guys expected. So, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I remember a lot of people saying before the game even happened that this is going to be a blowout, but they were wrong as far as which team would blow the other team out. A lot of people thought the Suns would win in the blowout. Couple things going on here for me in this game. First of all, I think Dallas is a team, when we're talking about NFL or NBA or any other sport for that matter, a lot of times you want to find the team that is getting hot at the right time. And I know I talked to Mike Settle a lot about this, and we both agreed that Phoenix Suns not only did they get hot at the right time, they were hot the entire season. And they were hot in the regular season, and they played very well, really up until those last couple games. Didn't really show a lot in Game 6 as well as Game 7. And I think it's kind of like the Bucks. They just kind of ran out of steam. Not that, we don't look at Dallas as a team that has a big three, but
No.
like I said, I think Phoenix just kind of ran out of steam because DeAndre Ayton didn't really give him much in that Game 7. So when you got a team that, one of your big three doesn't even show up, meaning DeAndre Ayton, because I'm not going to say that Book didn't show up in this game because he was constantly getting blitzed. When the way that Dallas was defending him, he was getting blitzed the entire game, and they just wanted to get it out of his hands. And when that happened, DeAndre Ayton wasn't doing anything. Chris Paul didn't really seem like he was engaged as far as really wanting to take shots. He was 4 of 8 from the field, and it's almost like he just kind of gave up. But there was really no second option for the Suns, let alone a third option, because once they got it out of Booker's hands, the rest of the team just sort of imploded. And, Mikal Bridges, he's a great defender, but, Luka was just destroying him. So it's all about Luka, though. Played an amazing game. Suns, ran out of steam. Dallas is getting hot at the right time. I'm not necessarily convinced that they'll be able to carry that on in the next series. But, to me, again, it all comes down to defense. And give some credit to Jason Kidd. He's doing a hell of a coaching job. But
yeah, he is.
They defended the hell out of the Suns. And I think after that, really after the first quarter, if you want to go back that far, I think Phoenix was just shell-shocked. And they didn't really know how to respond because Dallas just came out on fire. And the game, to me, was already over at halftime. And if you're Monty Williams, well, what are you going to say to your team at halftime when you're already getting destroyed? There's not a whole lot you can say. So, it was an implosion. Make no mistake, the Suns imploded here. But you also have to give credit to Dallas for coming out on fire. Spencer Dinwiddie, I didn't really see him doing that on the road in a Game 7. We can't really trust Spencer Dinwiddie from game to game, and that's something to look forward to when they play the Warriors. But even Jalen Brunson, he's not a guy that's necessarily going to show up from game to game, but they showed up in this one, and they're getting hot at the right time. So I'm not necessarily saying that the Suns imploded as much as Dallas just freaking destroyed them. They stepped on them. And they kicked them when they were down, and that's what you have to do against a team like Phoenix. But it's partial implosion, but it's also give credit to Luka and the rest of his guys over there.
Yeah, when you get outscored 30-10 in the second quarter of a Game 7 leading into halftime, it's not a good day. It's not a good day at all. And that was, it was just overall rough along that round. But I think Luka came out and did exactly what it was supposed to do. If Luka didn't get hot, like Booker should have been, then Dallas wouldn't have had a chance. But instead, Booker got stay cold, and Luka was just steaming the entire time. So it was a crazy series. So with the Suns team here, obviously they lost last year to the Bucks in the championship, and these guys were the 1 seed, expected to be pretty much almost the favorites, essentially, outside of maybe Golden State or Milwaukee here. What does the Suns have to do this offseason to help their roster out, to do something? Obviously, you keep Booker, but what does that mean for Chris Paul? What does that mean for Ayton? I don't think Ayton's even signed the extension yet or done anything. So, that's possibly 2 free agents, a retiree and free agent possibly too. Like, what's our thoughts here for this roster for Phoenix?
Well, I think it starts with CP3, and does he even want to come back next year, or does he want to hang it up? So that's the first decision that needs to be made. Second of all, if you're Phoenix, you benched DeAndre Ayton in that game. And
he only had 17 minutes.
there was some back and forth between him and the coach, and I've heard that he can sometimes get into arguments with the coach and other players. And do you really want to deal with that? Because when I look at DeAndre Ayton, I mean, when you've got a team like Dallas who's exploding and they're raining threes all over the place, and you've got a big three, including a guy like CP3 who doesn't want to shoot in a game 7, and a guy like DeAndre Ayton who just flat out, I don't know if he can't shoot threes or they just don't want to try to develop him.
He can't shoot threes, dude.
You got to look at moving on here from DeAndre Ayton. So he is a restricted free agent, and he's looking for a max contract of about $177 million over 5 years. So that's approximately between $30 and $35 million a year. If I'm the general manager of the Suns, I can't give him that. I don't care if CP3 stays or not, because in today's NBA, you must shoot threes. So we look at DeAndre Ayton, we look at him as a really good center. But if you compare him to guys like Joel Embiid and Giannis, and even Luka Doncic for that matter, big, tall, 7-foot guys, they all shoot threes. But why in the world would I want to sign a guy that's got a market value of 30 to 35 million bucks a year and he can't shoot threes? And so if that's not going to be a part of his game, I really, as the general manager of the Suns, I would not want him a part of my future. And so I think they're going to have to move on from him. He's not going to get a 5-year deal if he goes to another team, but he can get a 4-year deal. And I think there are some teams out there that would be interested in him. A couple teams to look for that have max cap space are the Detroit Pistons, Orlando Magic, the Spurs, the Blazers, and Indiana Pacers. I think a couple of those teams would definitely be willing to pay him the 4-year deal, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not the general manager. That's up to the Suns to decide that. But if that were me, I'm not giving him the money, and I think they have to move on from him. And quite honestly, if you're not going to move on from CP3, you got to drastically cut down his minutes next year.
Big time.
He obviously he's clearly running out of gas right now, and he's not a part of the future either. Even you bring him back for 1 year, so it's all about Devin Booker and however you want to build around him, because he's the future, and not so sure about the rest of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see exactly what happens. I got some people down there for our podcast that do follow the Suns pretty closely, that maybe we can get them on for a time or two as we get more into the next couple months to see if anything newsworthy is going on. So we'll keep an eye on that going on here. Let's get some prediction time, Jason. Prediction time for these next 2 series. Let's go ahead and start in Boston Celtics, Miami Heat. Jason Tatum versus Jimmy Buckets, and this is going to be another 2 great series. I think is happening right now. After the second round, we go into the conference finals, and this is going to be fabulous. I am excited to see this between these two squads here. It's a hard one to predict. Like, what are your thoughts here before I make any prediction?
Well, it's going to be a wild series. I know that the Miami Heat are favored by 1.5 in that first game, but the Celtics are actually favored to win the series. So Miami's got home court, but the 2 seed is favored to win the series against the 1 seed. So, I mean, I've gone back and forth on this, and I was even listening to Draymond Green's podcast earlier in the day, and he's picked the Celtics to win, and I can't do it. I've got to go with Miami Heat here, because I think the way that the Celtics were able to take down the champions, I think they're giving them a little bit too much credit there. Yes, they're a great defensive team, but you got to remember the Bucks didn't have Chris Middleton, and he's also a great defender. So while the Celtics play amazing defense, I think they're going to run into a defensive buzzsaw, if you will, in the Miami Heat. I do like the Heat in this series. It's going 7 games, no matter what. I'm probably going to change my mind after this show, but I'm going to ride with the Heat here. And I think my biggest concern with the Heat is the fact that I think Tyler Hero, they're really going to expect a lot out of him offensively, and I don't know how much he's going to be able to give from game to game because I think guys like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, they're going to give him a run for his money and be able to lock him up. And so I don't think Tyler Hero is the guy that you're going to be able to depend on from game to game. But defensively, I mean, they're just as good as the Celtics. I mean, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, those guys are great two-way players. And so I'm going to roll with the Heat here. Give me the Miami Heat in 7. I'm really pulling for Jimmy Butler here because he's a much older player than Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's got his whole career ahead of him. And I think for Jimmy Butler, this is the time. He's got to at least get back to the finals. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to win the finals this year, but you know, he has made a finals appearance back there in the bubble. They lost to the Lakers and LeBron. But I'm really – so this might be more of a hopeful pick because I really want to see Jimmy Buckets get back to the finals. I want to see him win another Eastern Conference championship because I think that the time is ticking on him. But I love both teams. I'm not going to be shocked either way. When you look at the coaches, Eric Spoelstra, I'll give the edge to Spoelstra as far as coaching experience, but it's a very slight edge because Ime Udoka has already shown that he's an unbelievable coach. So yeah, I mean, I'll roll with the Heat here, but I want to see what happens in Game 1 and Games 2 to see if I want to change my mind or not. But
hey, we got Wednesday. You can change your mind Wednesday. It's all right.
Oh yeah, I'll change my mind by Wednesday because, like, honestly, like I've been able to pick. You know, I've never been up in the air really about any of these series. I make a solid pick. I'm convinced, but I just think that Miami has been underrated and underappreciated this entire season. And now I think you got a whole bunch of people just jumping on the Celtics bandwagon all at once. And I have a good feeling about Miami. And don't forget about PJ Tucker. Those guys are dogs. I mean, there's dogs on both sides.
Yep.
PJ Tucker, another guy that's going to lock those guys up defensively. You know, he's able to lock up those guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. So it's not going to be easy for either team, and I definitely see it going 7.
Yeah, so Nick Botkins from Botkins Comedy, check out his daily show tomorrow. He'll be releasing that, kind of a recap of sports essentially for the week. He said, he goes, I told you all since season 7, Suns had a run, but it's over for Ayton and free agent. So he thinks Ayton's gonna go free agency. CP3 is on the back 9, which is so true. He says Celtics in 6 and Warriors in 6. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So, and then he also said this matchup here will be a low-scoring, hard-nosed basketball like the 90s. That's exactly what you're going to get with the Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown kind of matchup. Alpha Horford's right there, too. Don't forget about him. He had a pretty key series there, so that'll be quite interesting there. So my predictions here. Real quick here, offensive ratings, by the way, Miami's 12th, Boston's 9th. Defensive ratings, Miami's 4th, Boston's 1st. I'm picking the C's, like I said on Wednesday with my hot take. I'm going Celtics to take down Jimmy Buckets. I hope look, I ain't going to be mad if Jimmy Buckets wins the series. I'm not going to be mad at all. I'm always rooting for the guy. He deserves it. But I think the Celtics are going to pull out. So give me Celtics in, you know what? Give me a 7-game series. Celtics in 7. So let's move on to the final series here. Prediction-wise, Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. Kind of weird to say still, but, you know, it's going to be a hell of a matchup there. Luka, of course, versus Steph Curry and this Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, your boy Jordan Poole.
My boy.
Am I missing anybody there? So it's gonna be interesting on this series here. What's your thoughts? What are you thinking here on this series?
Well, I think the same thing as I've always thought with the Dallas Mavericks. Like I said, they're getting hot at the right time. They got hot in Game 7. but I can't trust Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson from game to game. Those guys have never been this deep in the playoffs, and those two guys, Brunson and Dinwiddie exploded in that last game, Game 7. I think they're going to come back down to earth. Golden State has the home court advantage here, but I don't necessarily think they're going to need it. I think Luka is basically going to get whatever he wants. I think that Golden State is going to be able to target him though on defense. I think they're going to be. I don't know how the Mavs are necessarily going to be able to hide him on defense, because we all know the Golden State Warriors. They set screens, they run all over the place offensively, and they try to wear you out. And especially like guys like Dinwiddie, Brunson, and even Luka Doncic, if they're chasing these Splash Brothers all over the court, they're cutting all over the place. Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Steph and Clay, Draymond running the show. And the other thing to look at is that there's just so much more experience on Golden State. I mean, that's why I don't see this being a 7-game series. And it's basically just because of experience alone. And Jason Kidd is a great coach. He's an ascending coach. But, I mean, you compare him to Steve Kerr. I mean, Steve Kerr's got the edge there. Warriors they just got too many weapons, man. I think Jordan Poole, another guy to look for. Jordan Poole, he's played well in the playoffs, but he didn't really do a whole lot in that last series. And so as far as offensively. And so that's another guy that you got to worry about. Okay, well, what if he gets hot all of a sudden? Clay, I still view him as an ascending player because he hasn't been at 100% basically this whole year. I still view him as a player who's still ramping up. And so, because he's still not quite back to the Clay that we saw before his injuries. So I think Dallas is going to have their hands full. I could see Dallas getting a couple of games here, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll take Golden State to win on the road in Game 6, give Dallas a little bit of their own medicine. As far as, another team coming into their house and kicking the shit out of them in a closeout game.
Here's my worry. Golden State, yes, they face Memphis, which is a whole different squad than what Dallas is. But Golden State didn't look that impressive against Memphis. And that's kind of a worrisome for me. I think this thing's going to go 6 for sure. I really do. I know I picked Dallas last time, but I just think there's too many weapons. And the key for this Golden State victory in 6 is the fact that they got an extra 2 days rest due to the fact that, or I guess 2-3 days, whatever it is. They got extra days rest with Golden State finishing up on Friday night instead of having to do it Sunday. So I think with the rest, that's going to be key for Golden State because they're now – feeling a little better, and that was hard-nosed basketball that Dallas had to do for 7 games, and the fact that they only get a day or two to rest here, that's going to be insane. So give me Golden State in 6, but I still think Luka's going to put on another show this entire series. So
yeah, I would say there that with that Memphis series that you were talking about, Memphis is a very physical team. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily view Dallas as a physical team. And so Memphis had, even when Ja Morant wasn't playing, they've got athletes all over the place. So when you're Golden State on offense and you're running around and Memphis is chasing those guys around, they had the athletes to do that. And they were very physical with Golden State. I don't know if Dallas can do that. But as I said earlier, I mean, defensively, Dallas, that's their best chance is to try to get physical. And I don't know if they're going to be capable of doing that because Golden State's just going to wear them out.
Yeah, and remember, the Golden Sat too, their starters sat out for, 70% of the game on Game 5? So correct. That's more rest for them too. So they just had to play Game 7 to finish it out. So, yeah, man, that's going to be an interesting series. I'm looking forward to this whole matchup here. So any final thoughts here on this series?
No, I mean, I said, I got Golden State in 6. Wouldn't be surprised if it's 5. But again, it's all about those shooters on Dallas. they're going to get tired, man. And when you get tired, you lose your legs. When you lose your legs, you can't shoot. So I hope we get a good series. I hope we get at least 6, but it could be only a 5-game series coming up here. Gentlemen sweep.
That's right. All right, everybody. We're going to wrap this thing up here. Make sure you tune in Wednesday where we'll have more discussion here about this NBA Finals. We'll talk about the NFL schedule release as well with some thoughts there. And I'm sure there's going to be more, so there always is. But check us out next Monday for another NBA playoff discussion, 8 o'clock Central. You find us currently on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. No Facebook because Facebook's being weird. Yeah. Right now it's just weird. So check us out.
They're being weird and they're being wild.
Yeah, it's interesting right now. So, but check us out there next Monday. We'll be here Wednesday as well with Mike. Like I said, talking about some stuff here. Everybody have a great night. JG, thanks for joining me.
Sports Buffoons, we're out.
See you guys.